Welcome, Pharaoh fans. I bet you're curious about this. I think it's about time that we spend some time checking out the options menu because, having played through the entire game before, a number of these things are significant and change quite a bit about the game. So I'm going to go through all of this with you one by one for a comprehensive analysis. So you can see in the options menu there's gameplay, graphics, audio, and key bindings. And just as a note, I think the developers have been listening to me complain about a number of things because I really like some of these options. So first of all, there's just language options. You can see there's English, French, Spanish, German, and Italian. Do wish there were more, but that's what we got for now. Recruitment system. There's recruiters or global labor pools. So this is one of the big ones and maybe a bit of a contentious one. So recruiters is how the game worked originally, where it was when you put down a working building, an industry building, it sends out a walker, and that walker has to then find a house. It has to pass a house for that industry building to get a worker. Now, global labor pool means that the industry buildings just always have access to your population. There are people who prefer one or the other, but just so you know, there is an option to choose which one you want. Worker population, there's age simulation or fixed worker ratio. This can make the game rather complicated. So in the original game, it was age simulation. Citizens between the ages of 20 and 49 years old work, and anyone younger or older than that range, they count towards your population, but they don't count towards your labor force. Now, fixed worker ratio is much easier to understand. It basically just means that 40% of your population is always available to work. Again, this option also exists in the Caesar 3 modded version, but the important thing here is whether you prefer the old style or the new style. It's an option. Cheat codes, yes or no, apparently. I don't actually know what the cheat codes are at this point, but apparently there are cheat codes, so that's a throwback to the past. Predators. Now, I'm assuming this means there are dangerous animals on the map. This can be toggled, interestingly. I wasn't expecting this as an option, so this would be animals that you wouldn't be hunting for game meat. So it would be scorpions or hippos, or, that sort of thing. Interesting that can be a toggle. I'm okay with this option existing. Those dangers can be a bit of a problem, but I think I would have to test a bit more on how effective maybe towers are at killing those animals and stuff like that. Besides that, storage default set to accept here. It can be all or none. This is granaries and storage yards. So the default, whether they accept everything when you build them or accept nothing when you build them. This is a great option to have because it really is just playstyle. I personally prefer none because I like to put down a storage yard and not have random things just end up in there by accident, right? So I prefer it on none and then to let it accept the few things I want in there. But if you prefer all, that's how it was in the original game, you can pick that. I'm going to put it on none. Unique walker range. This is every type of walker has its own range, and some can cover more tiles than others. So I'm not sure about this tooltip. I have to double check this because right now it says unique walker range, yes, and it says all walkers have the same basic range. The tooltips might be reversed or the setting might be reversed. I'm not too sure which one it is. Good option to have. I just need to figure out which one is which. And in the original game, walkers had unique ranges. Some walkers just went further than others, but you can make it, all the same. So I'll follow the tooltip now and put it on that, but I want the unique walker range. Bazaar default accept. Again, I would prefer that as none because I prefer the bazaars not accepting all types of food and all resources. When I first build it, I like to control what bazaar sells what. So I'll put it on none. In the original game, it's all. Great option to have, like that one. Default accept, similar to the others. I will actually leave. Dock options is new. That was not in the original game at all. And I will actually set that one to all because generally I have one dock, maybe two docks, but they tend to be next to each other. So I'd rather docks just accept all. Good. Off-road water lift. Now, this is new. Water lifts automatically get access to the workforce even when they're not connected to a road or they need a road connected to them. I'm going to leave it as Yes? No? I actually don't know which one I prefer. I'll come back to that one, but that's a nice option to have. Off-road towers, similar. Do towers need to have road connection? Again, maybe I'd prefer no, but I'm not too sure which one I prefer. I have to think about this one as well. I mean, obviously, needing a road connection makes it slightly easier, but it's not that big a deal either way. It's more to do with whether you're annoyed by it or not. Subcategory pre-open. So clicking on a building category on the right bar opens every subcategory directly. I think yes. So this is just a UI control. So when you like click on the sidebar buttons, whether you want to see all the options immediately, or do you want subcategories to be separate separate little sections that you have to click on individually. I think this more has to do with what resolution you're working with, but that's a very nice option to have. Hover on building delay, always good to have hover delay options. Right now it's 2, I assume that's 2 seconds. The hover on building delay means when you hover on a building, there's a little delay, and then it shows the spawn point and despawn point of the walker, and sometimes some other information. I actually prefer that, maybe, yeah, actually, I'll leave it on 2 for now. Overseer pause off. This means when opening an overseer, does it pause the game? In the original, it did, because the overseer was a full screen thing. But this time, the overseer is not a full screen thing, so you can have the game continue running. I'll leave it off for now. Some of these options, the way they're worded, is kind of double negatives. Like, do you want this off? Yes, which means it is yes to being off. And if you say no, then it is no to being off, which makes it on. It's a weird wording, but I think you get it. A scripted events pause, I would say yes. So, like, see, this one, overseer pause off, but scripted events pause, which basically means scripted events pause yes, or on, rather. So I want yes to this and yes to this, because I want no pausing on the overseer, but I want pausing on events. But they're both... So I want this one off. No, wait. Yeah, I want this one off. I want this one on, but both options have to be set to yes. It's... Okay, sure. Ooh, garden options. You can have random click and drag gardens, which is how it was before. Or you could have selected gardens. You can place gardens the same way you can place statues. So they're like fixed buildings. That is a very interesting option that... I don't know whether I prefer it, but I kind of want to try it. You press the rotation key to cycle through the available gardens. I don't know whether I prefer it, but I want to try it. It's just a cool option. But also when you really want to decorate up your city, that could just allow you to get it just right. Because, sometimes the gardens, they don't quite fit into the crevices perfectly. So you want to do that. Autosave delay, great. Minimum on 1 year. You can have it up to 3 years. You can't turn off autosaving. I wouldn't recommend turning off autosaving anyway. I'll leave it on 1 year for now. And then I think a big one, which it doesn't break down here. I would like to have some exact stats on this. But the difficulty can be easy, normal, or hard. There's only 3 difficulties this time. And I think they mentioned, so in the original Pharaoh, there were 5 difficulty levels. So it was very easy and very hard. Now, I think they mentioned that hard is essentially easier than very hard, but maybe slightly harder than the old hard. Normal, I think, is normal. And easy, I think they said something along the lines of it's harder than very easy, but maybe slightly easier than the old easy. But also, with the rebalancing and the new mechanics, difficulty is hard to compare between the original game and the new game, because everything's sort of redone. So I'm just going to default to hard, because I always play these games on the hardest difficulty. And if it's easier than very hard, then I should just stick to hard for now. Alright, those are the gameplay options. Let's have a look at the graphics options here. A nice set. We've got our resolution. Great. It does go up to higher resolutions, as you can see. And they did confirm ultra widescreen support. Display selection. Very good, because for those of us with more than one monitor, sometimes by weird setups, it just defaults to the wrong monitor or something like that. So it's great to have that choice. Frame rate settings, you can lower it down to 15, 30, 60, 90, 120, or unlimited. Now, if you have some, like when I tested different frame rates, on some of the frame rate settings, I do have some flickering. If you have that flickering effect, try different frame rates as well. Also, I did just find running it at 120 to be noticeably smoother than 60. So I do recommend, like, if you usually stick to 60, I do recommend going up to higher, 90, 120, or even unlimited. I just don't like, because I do recording and stuff, I don't like to go straight to unlimited because it can sometimes cause instability with the recording. So I'm putting it on 120 for now. Full screen option, borderless window, or windowed. All three options are there, which are great. VSync, on or off, that's a good one. And there is a cursor confined option. Look, my cursor is confined. Well, just so you know, my other monitor is off to the right. And you can see I can't get to that because I confined the cursor. So many modern games just don't have this option. So it's really great to have that there. Okay, now for audio. And you know I'm a stickler for audio sliders. Let's see what they got. We got master, music, ambient sounds, voices, and sound effects. All right, that's pretty comprehensive. As far as I know, there aren't more cinematics than the intro cinematic. I still would like to have a cinematic audio slider, even if it's just for the intro cinematic. Even if it's just for that. I don't think they have more cinematics besides that. But this is pretty good. I will not really complain about this. This is pretty good. I don't think they're missing anything significant here. Yeah, that's good. Now, also importantly, there are rebindable keys. You can rebind, right? Pause, press the key you wish to bind this command to. Do I want it on P? I don't know, because there's a lot of things now. We can rebind these. Speed up and speed down are here. But these are the default options, by the way. I've not changed these yet. Reset speed is also T. I'm not sure about these, but sure. Toggling a grid, that's nice to have. There wasn't really a grid before. You can use WAS to control the camera. Rotate building, this is very important now because most buildings can be rotated. Even things like prefectures, temples, you know, the tax collector, everything, as far as I know, almost everything can be rotated. And they're not just flipped graphics, because I sort of wondered, why didn't in the old games, why can't you just rotate everything? And then I realized the lighting would be wrong. The buildings are designed to have a specific direction of lighting, so you have to create a different graphic if you want to rotate the building. And in this game, they have actually created a different graphic so you can rotate the buildings. Height cliffs, nilometer, that's a nice little UI thing that we have. You can toggle it with N. You can hide the UI for those screenshots. That's good. Flat mode, that's good to have. We had that before. Building picker, that's supposed to be able to like clone a building, and then just rather than selecting the option on the right and finding the building you want, you should be able to clone a building that's already on the map and then just place it. That should be good. World map, yes. Briefing, yes. Menu, in-game help. Quick saving, that's nice to have there. All the overseers, of course. And all the overlays. So right now the overlays by default are not bound. So if you start up the game and you're wondering, how come I pressed F, but how come it didn't bring up the fire overlay? I assume it's because things might be, yeah, F is bound to flat mode. So you could change this back to the old school key bindings, no problem. But just generally rebindable keys, huge bonus for accessibility options, and very, very important, whatever your playstyle. So this is great. So overall, from gameplay to graphics to audio to key bindings, it's pretty comprehensive. A little bit confusing on the wording of some of these options, but generally I think it's a good set of options. I'd like some explanation on what the difficulty differences are. And yeah, I think that's pretty good. Anyway, that is the options menu in Pharaoh: A New Era. Now, let's get back to more gameplay.